go. Good morning from Piedmont, South Dakota. Yeah, we're sitting here having our coffee. I don't know, what did you want to talk about, Jennifer? You thought it'd be a good idea to just let people know how I plan trips or how we plan this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, I just started checking off stuff off of my bucket list, and so one of the things was I've been wanting to do coast-to-coast trip on a motorcycle, and so I ended up doing that southern route and northern route. So I did that a couple of times, and I wanted to ride as far north as possible to Prudhoe Bay in the United States. So obviously you have to go through Canada to get to Alaska, and to do that from the lower 48, but that's the trip that I put in for this year. And as I was talking about it and planning that trip, she was like, well, she'd like to go to Sturgis. She hadn't been to Sturgis before. So we started working, well, can we work the two together somehow? So she was thinking about flying to Alaska to meet me and ride.
Shipping my bike out?
Yeah, shipping the bike out to Sturgis. And then she'd spend some time with me in Alaska. And then I was going to ride to Prudhoe Bay and back down to Fairbanks area. And then she would fly back down to Sturgis, get on her bike, hang out with some friends here until I got here. Well, it wasn't working. We weren't able to get anything to get the bike shipped out, really. That's really what it boiled down to. Everybody wanted, and we understood, people they wanted to charge both ways because they had to. They didn't want to bring a bike out and then have an empty spot riding back.
And that was fine, but it just ended up being a little more hassle maybe than it was worth. And then as we started talking more, I was like, I don't know, I've never done a long distance by myself. Would it be crazy for me to just ride out? And I was asking you and you didn't think it was crazy, so.
No. So we mapped out a route for her to ride out to Sturgis by herself from Pennsylvania, and we just mapped out some different spots, stops on the way, people she knew, and so she could stop and spend an evening with a friend, ride another couple hundred miles, and spend another evening with a friend. So the first night you stayed in a motel though, right?
Yeah, the first night I was actually going to go up through Illinois and stay in the area with a friend and try and grab dinner with her, but then she wasn't sure she was going to be around, and till it was all said and done, it was just easier to take the pressure off myself because I didn't know how far I can ride. I had only ridden, what was my longest?
420 was the longest you had
420.
done. 420 miles in a day.
Yeah, that was the longest I had ridden by myself, with him actually, but like on my own bike. So then decided, hey, maybe I'll just ride as far as I can, just get a hotel on day one so that I wasn't pressured trying to be somewhere at a certain time. So that actually worked out really well. Put in 630 miles that first day by myself and no problems at all. It's great.
Yeah, so I headed back from Alaska after I got off the Dalton Highway, and the way I do these trips, I don't like to have a certain destination. I'll pick a spot that I want to go and an area that I want to be in, but I don't usually. Sometimes I'll plan ahead and have a place to stay, either campground or something. But oftentimes I will just pick an area that I want to go, and I'll end up, if I end up doing 600-mile day, it's 600 miles. If it's an 800 or 1,000 miles, then that's what it is. That's the way I like to do it. I don't have everything real structured. I'll have a couple, like coming back from Prudhoe Bay, actually I knew I was going to be staying in Fairbanks. Actually, the address of the place where I stayed, I used Bunk-A-Biker for that.
Oh, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because you've referenced that before, but maybe tell people like how you find that information and what it is. And
Bunk-A-Biker is a group. It's actually a Facebook group, and that's how it started. Now I guess they have a website and they have other stuff too. But you can go to, for me, I go to Bunk-A-Biker USA because that's where I'm trying. Bunk-A-Biker.
Yep.
USA, and look at the map. They have a map there, and there's different codes. I mean, everything's explained on there. But basically, you have hosts that, hey, we have an extra bedroom, or we have a nice yard. You can set up a tent, and people will let you. You just go in, no charge, and you set up a tent if that's what they have, a tent spot, or if they have a bedroom, the one in Fairbanks, she either or. She said, I have a yard, you can set up a tent, or I have a spare bedroom. So I ended up using the spare bedroom there. There was another couple, a couple from Chile, and because she had 2 bedrooms, so they were staying there also. So there was 3 of us stayed there, a couple and then myself. And yeah, next morning I woke up. I got up at 6:30 and headed for Coldfoot. I knew I'd be staying at Coldfoot at least one night. I'll do a more in-depth about the Dalton Highway and all of that video about all of that. But those are a couple of things that I did know. A couple of places where I would be staying, and then I wanted to stay in Tok because there's a real neat campground there in Tok, Alaska. From there, I did stay in Whitehorse one night, another pretty cool campground. And then I headed south, headed towards Sturgis. Actually came back west a little farther. My route brought me down through Idaho, and I used Bunk-A-Biker in Idaho also. And then I headed out to where we're at now, and you can see the tent in the background. I did a short video on this to show you the ground here. This is just a neat place. I love this place.
We're in Piedmont, South Dakota right now.
Yeah.
And this, we actually booked through Airbnb. So we have this tent, we have an outside shower and an outhouse here, and it's worked out really great. Just a really wonderful family. They started this. They've got a coffee shop up here that we can walk to up through the meadow.
Yeah.
It's called Tin Cup Coffee.
Tin Cup Coffee.
Definitely a place to check out if you're in the Sturgis area. It's nice because you're, I don't know, how far out are we? 10 minutes?
We're 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes from Sturgis, something
Nice,
like that.
quiet, chill location. But back to Bunk-A-Biker for a second. We have found, because we are hosts as well, so
Yeah.
we've had opportunity to host different bikers as they're coming through southeastern Pennsylvania. It's just been really cool to get to know people and their stories, and we've had a couple people from overseas that have stayed with
Yeah.
us through Bunk-A-Biker.
Yeah.
We've had some people traveling, north to south in the States that have hit us up and stayed with us, so it's fun. You get to kind of know the stories and meet people. It just kind of gives a different feel, and that's what we also like with the whole Airbnb, like finding this place, getting to know the family and
Yeah.
supporting local business. And this is their 2nd year they've been open. It's just really cool to see people coming out and supporting them like that. So it's been a great experience. We love it. We'd much rather do this than hotels, and then we always ask our host where they like to eat and what they recommend in the area. And that, again, just brings a whole different, more personal, relational feel to your entire trip. So it's a lot of fun. We're all about the stories. We love people's stories.
Always ask the locals where to go. Always. And it didn't matter where I went. It doesn't matter where I go. I will ask locals. The local, where's your favorite restaurant in the area? Because I like the mom and pop type of places, and smaller places. We don't like the chain. I mean, I can go to Applebee's anywhere. I can go to Texas Roadhouse anywhere. I can go to, we like to find a small, local, not the big chains, put it that way.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with them. It's just
You
when
can do
I'm
that
traveling,
anywhere.
yeah, you can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the gist of how this came about. And then, we ended up back here. That's kind of that's a little bit of a different story, because I had planned we were going to be here for a couple of days and then hang out in Sturgis, do some riding around here. We did that last Saturday. We left Sturgis at noontime and headed for Ten Sleep, Wyoming. And Ten Sleep is a great little town. Went there, spent one night there, and then headed south. And the goal was to ride around Colorado for about 4 days, 3 or 4 days. Well, we ended up needing to change our route. I have family in Colorado, and we were staying with them, and their schedules changed, so we had to change our route, which wasn't a big deal. But instead of going down the west, heading southwest. We ended up heading southeast, and we completely changed the route the way we were going to go. So as we're sitting in Durango, we're sitting there getting a drink and lunch, something to eat, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're heading northwest here. We could stop in at Sturgis again and surprise some of our friends that are staying out here. So we decided to do that. So that's how this came about. That's why we're back here. So we got in touch with the Airbnb here. We got in touch with Kim. They're a wonderful family here. The kids and everybody. They're just great people. Headed up, got in touch with them and said, hey, is it open again? And they said, guests are leaving yesterday. The tent's available tonight, which would have been last evening. So I said, hey, if we can take it, we'd love to. So that's what brought us back here. Now we'll head east. We'll start heading east later today here. So
you have to check out his other video too, because I've got my bed head on here. I showered in the outdoor shower here last night. It's awesome. Such a cool setup. So we'll link to that video here as well.
I didn't worry about the shower yesterday. I was sweating. It was so warm, man. I jumped in the creek. They have a swimming hole right over here. I jumped in the creek. That felt better to me because nice, cool water. This stream flows real strong, so fresh water.
And their dog Finley was super happy to see Wayne's back again.
My. Yeah, the dog came over to visit right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the bottom line of how I do trips.
How do you map? Like, do you plan around weather and stuff, or you just work around it as it happens?
I try to work around it as it happens. If I do see weather, if I see a weather pattern coming, I'll watch the radar. If I see a big pattern, a big storm system, I will try to route around it if possible. You can't always. You know, after I left Lake Michigan, I saw there was a storm coming through, well, it had been Minnesota, I guess. And I took Route 2 all the way to I-15 in Montana and went north. And I'm like, well, it looks like I'm going to hit this one. And I did. I had about 300 miles of solid rain. So it's just, sometimes you can't do anything about it. If possible, I will change the route a little bit if I can try to get around the storm. But you can't always.
And that's what works really well. I think as you travel and as we travel together, like we've learned, like, we're flexible. We're not tied.
You have to be.
You can't have set concrete plans because anything can happen, and it does. So I hit about 3 hours of storms off and on the one day and just got drenched on my solo part. But the one thing I wanted to say too, just simple little tips for me, because this was my first time doing it myself, is I put my phone weather app to give me alerts based on my location. Yeah. So that was really helpful for me, because like in the one instance it said, heavy rain starting in 8 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever it was, and that gave me time to get off the highway and find a bridge to tuck under. So we'll link to some of these videos too, but just being aware of what's happening around you, because there's no sign out here. It's completely different than in Pennsylvania, where like you can be riding along and it's beautiful blue skies, and all of a sudden you've got a crazy, in that instance it was a hailstorm coming through. So had to pull over and take cover. And again, not like in Pennsylvania where there's bridge underpasses everywhere. There's not here. So I tucked off an exit real quick and tried to find a place to hang out under a bridge, which is what I ended up doing, and that was great.
Well, and that's another point too, because depending on where you're traveling, there's not a lot of cover. I got caught in storms in Montana, and I had to ride it out for about a half hour. There was nowhere to pull over. There were no underpasses. I finally got to an exit, and I took the first exit. I thought, if there's just a gas station or something, and ended up being a gas station and a motel there. And I pulled in in front of the motel, and the lady at the desk, she was standing outside. She said, wow, this is a crazy storm. And I said, yes, it is. I've been in it for about a half hour. And I said, you have any rooms? Because at that point, I just wanted a room. I just wanted to rest. And they had a room, so I got a room. So, you just make adjustments sometimes. Yeah. You can't be that rigid. You'll just get stressed. You'll stress yourself out. So you have to be flexible.
And the same is true for fuel. You can't just stop anywhere. Like at home, the next exit will have fuel or whatever here. Sometimes, I mean, I was laughing yesterday as we rode back over here because we had decided that we're going to stop, and it took us probably most of an hour to get to a place that we actually could stop for fuel and to take a break. So
Right.
just being aware of where you're at and stopping ahead of when you need something. Like, we decided we're going to stop, and then it took us most of an hour to get to a place that we actually could. So
And
just
that was
being
coming through
prepared.
Wyoming.
Coming through Wyoming,
You know,
yeah.
so
yeah.
there's some pretty remote areas.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful riding. So it's been a great adventure. And how do you feel about your wife joining you on this leg?
It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
And I mean, it stretched you a lot because I'll be the first to admit I'm not easy to ride with. You know, the way, I mean, it's nothing new. I'll do 800 to 1,000-mile days. I don't, I mean, I've done that a couple of times here on this trip, you know. If I just decide to keep going, I just keep going. I don't.
Yeah, and honestly,
Yeah.
I'm finding for myself. We stopped and got me a new seat because I needed to get forward
Yeah.
a bit. So we got me a
Saddleman.
got myself a Saddleman seat at Durango Harley, and that's been great because it's got a backrest that's pushing me front a little bit further, so I've got better stance as I'm riding. Definitely has made a huge difference in my riding
Yeah.
comfort. So the distance
time.
hasn't been as much of an issue. The other day that we rode was really, honestly, probably my hardest day of riding ever. It wasn't the miles. I think we did
We did 450 miles that day, and
But
that was a rough day.
What
That
was
a rough day of
happening
riding.
there is that we were coming through these canyons, and the heat index was over 100.
It was like 105, 106. It was
And we
warm.
were like down in this canyon literally for hours, and it was
Yeah.
just baking. And then we hit road construction, had to sit and wait because they were paving the road, and then you're on fresh black pavement, so the heat's reflecting up off. So that, and then coming through that section in Colorado also, there were forest fires, so the air quality wasn't great. You could definitely smell everything.
Yep.
You could see the billows of the
Yep.
smoke. I've got that on one of the videos. You can see the planes coming down and, you know, putting down the slurry to control the forest fires. So that day was really, that was a rough one for
That
me,
was a
for
rough
sure.
one.
We got to the end of that, and I was ready to be done for that day. But yeah, I'm finding that it's
Well-
all about comfort. You know, you rolled back my bars, so my
Yeah.
handlebars were a little closer for me. You put the floorboards on for me long ago after I got my bike. This is my, what did we decide, my fourth season riding. So definitely putting more miles on this trip than I've ever done before, but loving it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a big thing with comfort. You have to set your bike up to your bike. Don't worry about, you know, I've had people saying, "Oh, you got to go with 12-inch bars on this bike." No, you don't. You need to go with what fits you and what works for you.
And I'm pretty short. I'm probably 5'3", 5'4". So the Sport Glide has been a perfect fit for me because I'm flat-footed and we didn't have to lower it or anything. But again, riding around home for, you know, running out for dinner or whatever, it's no big deal. But when you start putting in more miles, you know, getting a few hundred miles in, my comfort level changed, and I realized I was really reaching. So he rolled back the bars. We did a video on that as well. And I feel like I've just learned a lot on this trip. You prepared me well for, you know, packing and helping me get loaded up before you left town. But we'll do another video, I think, on just the things that we've found to be instrumental, you more so than me, but even for me being a newbie, you know, the things that I packed that really were instrumental in making this trip work for me. So we'll do another video on that and highlight some of those items because I think that would be helpful for people as well.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really the bottom line of how, I mean, it's the condensed version, but as far as planning and stuff, I have, and I can show you a little more about how I pack and all of that, but I keep it pretty simple. I mean,
Well, you've
I
got
really
it down
do.
to a science.
Yeah, it takes, if I get to a campground to set up my hammock or my tent, I mean, 15-20 minutes I'm set up, and next morning when I go to leave, it's 15 or 20 minutes and I'm tore down, I'm out the road and I'm rolling again.
And this
Doesn't
thing
take
right
that long.
here is key
Yeah.
for me because I am mosquito bait always. So
This-
he's got this Thermacell.
I carry the Thermacell, and I carry, well, if you know anything about them, it's they have a little canister, fuel canister, and anyway, I carry extra stuff, but we're sitting here with this on now because the bugs were pretty bad this morning, so yeah, that keeps the bugs away. Mosquitoes don't like it.
Yeah. anyway, we're looking forward to some more great riding. We're going to start heading east now and head back towards home and back to normal life.
Back to reality.
But yeah, I think it's fun to get out and experience things together. And certainly some of you saw the video about $1 Million Highway. I looked like I was upset. I was not upset. My husband has known me for a very long time. We've been married for almost 30 years, and it's one of those things that he knows about me is I don't like heights, and I'm not an adventurous person by nature. I like things kind of laid out, so I've learned to be flexible, but you know, in doing some of these rides, he knows like not to give me all the details up front, or I would like panic and have anxiety and not not be willing to do it. So he just says, here we go, we're going, and what am I going to do? I'm not stopping. So forces me to push myself, and yeah, it feels great on the other side. That's one thing I've definitely learned is
I knew she could do it.
Getting out of your comfort zone, obviously being smart while you're doing it. That's why I asked him like 100 times, are you sure I'm up for this trip on my own? You know, and he knew that I could handle it. So yeah, it's been an adventure. I definitely think I'll do it again. So thanks for letting me in on this leg.
And you know, next year's trips, I mean, I have ideas for what I'm going to do, but I'll start over the winter time. I'll kind of map things out and get a real general idea of where I want to go, the destination, and then I work backwards. I set the destination, and then I say, okay, these are spots I want to see on my way there and spots I want to see on my way back home. And so I set the final destination and work from there.
You know what else though? People ask always about like the budget and how you figure out like how do you get the time off? How do you figure out like what you're going to spend, what you need budget wise? Like we're not retired. We both work full time, so this is definitely done with intention.
I tell you what, you just have to schedule it. You just have to put it in the schedule. You can, if all of this mess, well, someday I want to do this. Someday, yeah, well, someday never really gets here.
Yeah.
So you just have to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do, and you sit down with the people that it affects. You know, maybe it's your employer or whoever it is, and you say, look, I want to take 2 weeks to do this, and you put it in the schedule. You know, schedule it a year in advance if you need. You know, if your employer or family, whoever says, hey, we need 6 months advance. Well, then give them 6 months advance. It doesn't matter.
Well, and for us, we knew because we do both work full time. You know, Wayne took an entire month to do this trip.
Yeah.
So for me, I couldn't pull that off. So we were trying to find a way to make it work. So I've got, you know, the last week and a half here with him to be able to do this leg, and that's great. You know, our team at home is handling things for the business, and just making it intentional.
You have to be intentional. Yeah.
And you know, we're not having steak dinners every night. We're not staying,
Heck no.
you know, at the Ritz-Carlton. We're experiencing things along the way. It can be done on a budget. You don't have to spend a tremendous amount of money to do these things. It just really comes down to your intention. And
yeah. This year I figured, and I'll map it out, I had extra money put back for it, but I figured on $4,000. That's what I planned on for a month. Last year, the coast to coast, $1,900. I did it. That was fuel, lodging, food, everything. Was $1,900 coast to coast. Now, when I met her and we went up, we went to the Northeast, when she was with me, it got more expensive. But
it's just
anyway,
because there were two bikes. That's the only reason why.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, right. But at any rate, that's now that's another thing though.
What he's not saying is when you go to the Northeast, of course you've got to have Maine lobster, and it was so amazing. We had to have it twice.
We had it twice, and that So there, those meals. I mean, we were spending $100 for those meals, you know. So just food right there for 2 nights was $200. But it was worth it. It was well worth it. Now, one thing that I will say is I do not include the maintenance on the motorcycle for that. Because that's, if you're riding your bike, you're going to be maintaining it no matter where you're going, what you're doing, even if you're just riding it at home. Obviously, if you're putting more miles on, you're getting out there farther, you're going to have a little more maintenance, but I don't include that in, maybe I should in my travel expense, but I really don't, because
You're gonna have it regardless.
I'm going to have that regardless, you know.
But you put a new tire on for me, like you went over my
Yeah.
bike real well.
I went
before you
over her
left.
bike real good.
sure
She
everything's
needed a new rear tire. Obviously, I changed the oil before. Now I did change the oil on my bike on this trip. She'll be fine. We'll be right at that 5,000-6,000 mile mark by the time we get back home. So, you know, change it before you leave. Change it when you get back. But it doesn't matter what, you know. My point is, I don't say, oh well, I had, you know, $300 in maintenance on whatever I had to do to the bike. Well, it doesn't matter where I'm riding. I'm going to have that.
Yep.
So that's different. That's a separate budget. So as far as the travel budget, I usually go lodging, food, fuel. What's this going to run me? And you can do it for pretty cheap. I mean, especially if you have a tent or a hammock, whatever. Even like I mean, this place, this is just awesome.
It's
We
awesome
love
here.
it.
Love it.
But it's, you know, it's a heck of a lot less than a motel room.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that simple. So do this kind of stuff.
Or build it to be whatever you want it to be. If you want to do the luxury route, you can do that. If you want to do the, you know,
Yeah.
sleep on somebody's hammock, you can do that. If you want to do Bunk-A-Biker for no cost, you can do that.
That's
so
exactly right.
it's, you know, that's the flexibility you have when you travel.
But if you're on a tighter budget, you want to do it cheaper, there's, you know, you can spend a lot or you can spend a little to do the trips. It's just that simple.
We're big advocates for cash flowing whatever you're doing. Just add that.
You cash flow it.
I mean,
You set a budget.
this isn't a
If you
credit card
plan-
deal. This is save
If you
up
plan on it, like next year's trip, as soon as I'm back, you know, we start setting money aside for next year's.
Yeah.
That's part of your planning.
Yep.
You got that way you can pay for it, and always have extra, because you might run into some problems. You know, there were Steamboat Springs. I mean, we weren't planning on doing that, but we ended up needing to pay a little more to stay there than we hoped for. But it was part of it. It was one of those things where we had to be flexible, and we had to switch things up a little bit. We weren't planning on staying in Steamboat Springs.
Colorado is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
We rolled in the evening and every hotel was booked.
Yeah.
So we came down to like what is left. We checked several hotels and they were all booked solid. So thankfully we found a room and that
We
worked.
did find a room, but it was a little more expensive. We had to pay a little more than what we had hoped for. But so what? It didn't matter. You know, I always plan a little extra. Budget a little extra. You know, budget over, not under. So give yourself some flexibility there.
So hopefully we'll get to go back there and ride around there and check out Steamboat Springs some more. That was a cute little town.
I want to check Steamboat Springs out. The roads around there, 131. I mean, my goodness, some great scenery. And there's a lot of roads that I want to ride. And also Wyoming. Now, Wyoming can get a little monotonous, depending where you're at. But Ted Sleep, I'll definitely go back there again. And this time probably head west on 16, a little farther. She hasn't done Beartooth Pass and some of the other routes out there, so you know, we might try to tie that in next year. We'll see.
I'm not a big
We'll
rally
talk about
person,
that.
so my whole thing is like coming out here was great. It was fun to see Sturgis. We were there for a few hours and then we rolled out and went on to Wyoming, so that was fun. We're gonna go back in town this morning. Need to check some things out with my Cardo earpiece for my motorcycle helmet. It's having some issues, so gonna go do that and then get ready to roll east again. So, you know, again, it's not necessarily, you know, if you're the rally person and you want to just bounce bar to bar or whatever, like, more power to you, have fun, but design your trip around whatever is important to you.
Yeah.
And for us, it's more about the roads and the scenery and experiencing things in the area than necessarily the rally. Although it was really fun to see all the bikes and
Oh, I love
check
that.
out all that stuff. It's
I
fun.
love that.
Yeah.
It's the biggest bike show you'll ever see, you know, and that's great. But yeah, for me, I want to see as much of this country as possible on two wheels in as short amount of time as possible. because it's the best way for me to. It's my favorite way for me to travel. 2 wheels.
And honestly, on my solo leg, I kept thinking about that. I'm like, I would not be doing this in a car. Like, zero interest in doing this trip in a car. Like, again, if that's what you want to do, more power to you. I think that would be awesome no matter what. But for me, it was just a whole completely different experience. And it was so fun because, you know, the biker community really looks out for each other.
Yeah.
So every single time I
definitely.
stopped, the entire way out when I was on my solo leg, like people, I met some really nice people. Some headed out here, some not. But, you know, they're like, hey, do you need water? Like, you're traveling alone. That's awesome. Just hearing a little bit about their story and catching up just for a few minutes while I'm doing my fuel ups. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then when I hit that storm and, you know, the state trooper pulled under the bridge and told me I need to stay sitting, and he sat there with me for the entirety of the storm, and had a fun little surprise there with some friends finding me under the bridge and from Pennsylvania. But anyway, yeah, it's good times. Get out and make memories and enjoy your ride. Be intentional, think about what you want to do, and just make it happen.
And ask questions. You know, I ask a lot of questions. That's why I started the YouTube channel, because everybody does things a little bit differently. And I watched a lot of videos on, you know, riding the Prudhoe Bay, the Dalton Highway, and got different ideas from different people. That's a lot of my part of the planning. Like, when I start planning next year's trip, I'll figure out exactly what I want to do, and then I'll look it up on YouTube and watch videos and see how everybody else does, see how other people are doing it. Not everybody else, but see how other people are doing it. And that's how I plan. Then I put my take to it, my ideas, and plan it.
And even like last night, we went back to our host here at the Airbnb recommended /J Saloon. Highly recommend it.
Yeah,
it was great.
love that
Food's
place.
great. So we had dinner there last night before we came back, and I promptly crashed out. I'm still on Eastern time in my body, so I'm hours ahead of everybody else here, but it's all good. Having a great time. Get out, make memories.
Get out and
Enjoy.
make memories. Plan
Drink
it and go
coffee.
do it. Yeah. But plan it and go do it.
Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everyone.